Hey ninjas, how you doing? Good morning to you. So good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. You guys, I am your host, Eric Thompson. I am president of Ninja Coaching. Welcome to the monthly kickoff. You guys, this is the beginning of June. This is our kickoff for the month. We are super grateful that all of you are here. Thank you so much. We have the Ninja Nation tuning in from all over the place. And let's imagine we're all in one room together, all committed to elevate our mindset, our skill sets, to take massive action, to take some really proactive actions so that so we can add more value, help even more people have the success that we want. Today, the focus is, this month, the focus is our Ninja Market Mindset. Okay, so we're gonna help you with that. We're gonna help you and show you how to have a Ninja Market Mindset. Let me start, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna start by asking you a question, all right? So I wanna ask you this question, scale of 1 to 10, my friend, scale of 1 to 10, how important is your mindset about the market? All right, so how important is your mindset about the market on a scale of 1 to 10 when it comes to you having the success, you having the results that you want? How important is your mindset about the market on a scale of 1 to 10? And of course, it's going to be very close to a 10, if not a 10, right? That's super important, our mindset about the market. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to help you with that. We're going to give you some takeaways related to your mindset about the market, some really effective ways to think about the market, and also we're going to give you takeaways around additionally skill set and actions. All right, so does that sound like a plan? Is that all right with you as we kick off the month of June? Okay, so let's dive in and let's remind ourselves that let's remind ourselves that the system works, right? So TSW, the system works. So we know that the system works as long as you do what? As long as you work the system. Let's also be reminded that the system works regardless of personality, and also the system works regardless of market. Okay, so the system works regardless of personality, also regardless of market. So this system has been in existence for decades, right? We're now 31 years of ninja selling, many different markets over that time period. And what we know is that the system always works regardless of the market. And also what we do as ninjas is we're constantly evolving, we're adapting, we're refining, we're elevating based on whatever's happening in the market, right? So we're nimble, we adjust, but what we can count on, what we can rely on is that the system will always work for us. Okay, so what we know is this. We know that regardless of the market, there are 3 success keys in any market. All right, do you know what those are? And of course you do, because you're great ninjas, you know exactly what they are. Those 3 success keys are your mindset, your skill set, and your actions, okay? So in any market, those are your success keys. So one very effective exercise for you would be to think about the success that you want to have. Okay, think about the goal that you want to have. Think about something on your life list that's a to do, to have, to be, or to give, something that you want to achieve. And then think about, okay, what would be the most effective mindset for me to have in order for me to have that success? What would be some skills for me to develop or enhance, refine in order for me to have that success? What are the actions I would be taking to have that success? All right, so run your goal through the filter of mindset, skill set, action, and that can be a very effective exercise to get clear on the areas to focus on. Now, let's also think about, as we're focusing today on a Ninja Market Mindset, let's think about the fact that these success keys are true for any market, right? So do you see the word there at the top of the slide that says any? Okay, so these are success keys for any market, right? Your mindset, skill set, action. So what's true is that our mindset, skill set, actions that were appropriate for maybe the 2020 or 2021 market, well, they're a little bit different now. Right now, there are some things that are always true, but there are some mindsets that we now need to adopt relative to today's market, our skill sets, our actions, right? So let's just do some quick examples. A mindset to have now, based on what's happening in the market, is to focus on things in our control and to not overly focus on things out of our control, right? So that would be a mindset example. A skill set example, I'm guessing you're already thinking about this one, is pricing. Pricing is even more important now, right? So that's a skill set that we need to enhance for today's market. And then an action that we would need to enhance and do even more of, be even better at, would be our live interactions, right? So if we can do really great with our live interviews, that's going to fill up our warm list. That's going to show that there's all kinds of opportunity in today's market, okay? So there are 3 success keys in any market. It's mindset, skill set, action. What we're going to do today in our time together, in our quick time together, is we're going to go through each one. So we're going to give you takeaways around mindset, around skill set, around action for today's market, because these are success keys for any and every market. Okay, are you with me on that? Is that making sense? Does that sound like a plan? Okay, so let's start with mindset, right? So what is right now a very effective mindset to have about the market? You know what the effective mindset to have right now, you guys, is there's always a market. My friends, there was always a market. So we encourage you, we coach you, we're challenging you to adopt this mindset. Okay, there's always a market. And here's why we know this, here's why this is true, is because there's always what? There's always change. And what we know is that it's change that drives the real estate market. Okay, so because there's always change, that's why we can say that there's always a market. And there's always change in what? Well, there's always change in forward, right? There's always change in people's lives. There's always change in what's happening with their family and with their friends, right? So children are getting married. Children are leaving the house. In 2 years, Julie and I will be empty nesters. We think about that a lot. People reach a certain stage of their life. Certain things happen with their friends. Their friends start to move to a new place, and they want to follow them also to that new place. There are changes in occupation, right? There are changes in people's work. Businesses grow, businesses shrink, industries grow and shrink, right? There's always changes happening in occupation. There are changes in how people recreate and what they're doing for fun. There are always changes in what people dream about. So because there's always change, we know that there's always a real estate market. And what you can do to kind of prove this to yourself is to think about any real estate transaction that you're familiar with, right? It's going to be a transaction that you recently helped with. And what you can do is you can have some fun and trace that back to what was the change that caused that. In which category did that change occur, right? Do that and just prove that to yourself. And oftentimes what you're going to find is that there are more than one, right? Sometimes it was not just one of the 4 FORD. There were 2 or 3 of them happening. So there's always change. And what that can tell us, what that proves to us, is that there's always a real estate market, right? There's always a market in housing. Now, just in the United States, let's look at what happens over the course of 2 years. Now, we have ninjas all over the world. For example, we have a lot of ninjas in Canada. We love our Canadian ninjas. Let's look just at the United States, though, and look at how much change occurs in just 2 years, right? So 7 million babies are born, 3 million marriages, 1.5 million divorces. Unfortunately, 7 million people turn 65 every 2 years. 4 million people pass away. 4 million net new jobs every 2 years. 50 million job switches. So let me ask you this. Is there some change? Is there change happening regardless of, right? So regardless of interest rates, regardless of what the stock market is doing, regardless of who's president, regardless of really anything, this change continues to occur. So that's why we can be so confident to know there's always a market. So say it with me now, loud and proud, because you're a ninja, there's always a market, right? There's always a market in housing because there is always change, all right? So we know that. And so what that means is there's always opportunity for us to help, always opportunity for us to serve. So there's always a market in housing. We can think about the metaphor of the glass, right? You've heard this before. Is the glass half empty? Is the glass half full? Well, it depends, right? It depends on how you're looking at the glass. So let's use the glass as a metaphor as we think about the fact that there's always a market in housing. So here's the deal. Home sales are down 30 to 40% compared to where they were in 2021. Okay, so we were around 6.5 million, really between 6 and 6.5 million sales per year of existing homes in the United States. Today it's what? Today it's about 4 million. So transactions are down 30 to 40%. So if we said that the glass was full in 2021, so what that means is the glass today, it's around 60 to 70% full, right? So it all depends on how you look at the glass. So sure, we can say that the market has slowed down compared to 2021, but we can also say that there are still 4 million transactions happening per year of just existing homes, not even counting new homes. And what that means is it's about 12,000 home sales per day. So let me ask you this: do we have an abundant mindset or a scarce mindset when it comes to the market? Can we focus on the abundance in the market? Can we focus on all the opportunity that is there? Can we focus on all the transactions that are occurring? Again, all the opportunity to help and to serve and add value. Can we put an over amount of focus on that and not put so much focus on the fact that the market has slowed down? It makes us think of this great lesson from the author Stephen Covey. Of course, he wrote the famous book, the classic book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Do you remember this one? Is this something that you use as a tool? Is this something that you can draw? Is this something you can download and put on your bulletin board, keep it in front of you? It goes like this: there are 3 circles of life, all right? And we can put things that happen in the world, put things that happen in our life into one of these 3 circles. There's the circle of concern, there's the circle of influence, and then there's the circle of control. So here's the deal: there are things that we are concerned about, all right, and we're aware of, and we need to be aware of. It's important to be aware of. We're not going to put our head in the sand. We're going to pay attention. Those are things that would live in the area of the circle of concern. And then we go one level deeper. It's that area of influence. So there's certain things, there's certain people in our life that we can influence. Now, how much influence depends, right? I'm thinking about my 2 teenage daughters. As time has gone on, I have less influence over them, which is totally fine. That's normal. But we can influence other people's behavior. Like when we think about a client, we can influence their behavior by providing them even more clarity, right? Really walking them through the path and showing them the steps, right? That will influence them to take action because we have helped them to become more clear. That's an example of the circle of influence. And then ultimately we land on the area, the circle of control. Those are the things that are 100% within our control. So let me ask you this as it relates to today's theme, as it relates to what we're talking about today on Ninja Market Mindset. The market, where would you put the market? In which circle does the market live? Well, of course, that lives in the circle of concern because we cannot influence it. We certainly cannot control it. So it lives out there in the circle of concern. And all that means is we're just aware of it. We pay attention to interest rates. We pay attention to the stock market. However, we are very aware of, we're super cognizant of the fact that we can't control it. So how about mindset, skill set, action? The 3 success keys, in which circle would those go? Well, they obviously go right into that circle, the area of control. So here's the thing: we can control mindset, skill set, action. We cannot control the market. And we're just going to be aware of that. We're going to know that. And we're going to go all in on the fact that we can control our mindset, our skill set, and our actions. Okay, so we talked about mindset. Let's share now some takeaways related to skill set. Let's be really specific as we talk about the market. A key skill really in any market, but certainly today, a key skill is being very effective at answering the question, so how's the market, right? So we get this question all the time. It's actually one of the great things about real estate is that people ask us about real estate. We don't have to bring it up in conversation. We just let them bring it up. And our ability to answer their questions about the market is going to absolutely be tied to the success that we're having in this market. Okay, so we're going to give you today three different answers, all right? So 3 different options on ways that you can respond to the question, so how's the market? So one great way is to respond with another question. Okay, so someone comes along and they say, hey, tell me what's going on in real estate. How's the market? So a great way to respond is to say, yeah, I'm happy to help with that. There's some interesting things I can share, but what have you heard? What are some things that you're hearing about the market? And that's effective because you understand where they're coming from. You get to frame your answer from the place of what's on their mind, what they're hearing. Maybe they're hearing some things that are true or not true. You need to know where they're coming from. So that's why that's a very effective initial response, is for you to say, yeah, so what have you heard? Another way to respond is for you to give some version of, so which market? So someone comes along and asks you, yeah, so Eric, how's the market right now? How's real estate right now? So a good way to respond is saying, yeah, well, I'm curious, which market are you thinking about? Which market are you referring to? Just the the overall, I live in Fort Collins, Colorado, so I might say just the overall Fort Collins market, or you think about the commercial market, the residential market, or you think about this neighborhood where we live, if it's a friend of mine that lives in my neighborhood that's asking me about the market, or you thinking bigger picture, are you thinking single family homes, multifamily homes? And what you can add to that response is to say, one thing we notice is that it really depends. The markets can really vary based on location, based on price point, based on product type. So I'm curious, which market are you thinking about? Which market are you referring to when you say that? The third option would be to say, well, here's what's interesting, right? So if someone comes to me and says, Eric, so what's going on in real estate right now? What's going on in the market? I may say, well, here's what's interesting. We noticed that even though transaction count has slowed down, even though there are fewer transactions in the market, even though interest rates have gone up, prices are staying pretty much steady. Now, I can say that to be true for Fort Collins, Colorado, right? So I would say, here's what's interesting. Prices are pretty much flat, and I would share the exact percentage. Here's what's interesting. So put these three answers in your toolbox when someone comes along and asks you, so how's the market? Now, we're going to keep going with this. I'm going to give you some specific takeaways on how to think about the market and things to share about the market, specific facts to share about the market. And we're going to think about that in terms of the 4 personality types, right? So where we're going with this is your answer can depend on what you know about that person to be true about their personality type. And we're going to look at what's most important to each of these 4 personalities when they are hearing about the market, when they're learning about the market. It's really going to depend on what kind of personality type that they have. All right. So you can have some fun with this. This can be a great way to frame up your answer when you think about the 4 different personality types. Okay. So here we go. Power people, what they care about are opportunities, and they also care about winning. Okay. So if a power person were to ask you, yeah, so what's going on in the market? A great way to respond is for you to say, well, there are some really terrific opportunities in the market right now. There's some interesting opportunities right now. Here's an opportunity we're seeing in the market right now. Power people also, they want to win, right? They're very competitive. So to say something like, you know what, we see that there really are some specific winning strategies in today's market. This is what they are, right? So frame it in terms of opportunity and also winning. Second, perfection people. So they, of course, care about being smart. They want to feel smart. They want to make sure that they're making a smart decision. So you may talk about why now is a smart time to buy, or why other people are finding it to be a smart time to buy. In a great way for a perfection people to feel smart and know that they're smart about their decision is to share facts with them. So ensure that you have a lot of great facts and stats to share about the market, right? We're not speaking in generalities to a perfection person. We're speaking about specific facts and stats about the market. That's going to help them to feel smart and know that they're making a smart decision. Peace people, they want to feel safe and they don't want to go fast. So you may talk about, when it comes to safety, you may talk about the long-term performance of the market, right? So you may say, you know what's interesting in our market for the long term? This is what we've seen for average yearly appreciation. And we just know that to be true over the last 40 years. So as we look into the future, as we attempt to project where prices might go, looking into the past and seeing how the market has done over the long term can be a really good guide. Also adding to the fact for peace people, adding and saying to them, you know what a lot of people appreciate right now, given that there's more inventory and months of inventory has gone up, is that there's a little more time, right? So one thing people did not like about the 2020-21 market is that they had to move too fast. So people appreciate today the pace. Party people, what do they care about? They care about things that are new and also exciting. So what's new in the market? What's a new development? What's a new home neighborhood? What's a new exciting opportunity, right? What's new and exciting? That's what they're going to want to hear about, right? So frame your answer based on the person that you're interacting with and think about these things. Okay, so that was skill set. We're going to finish with actions, my friends. Okay, so we're going to finish now with actions. And the action simply for you to take is to have highly intentional focus about the market, because what you focus on, what you focus on expands. So be very intentional about what you're focusing on. Are you focusing on that area of concern that is totally out of your control, or are you focusing on your mindset, your skill set, your action? Are you focusing on the opportunities that absolutely exist in the market? And what you can do is you can put focus on all four of these categories that we just looked at. So focus on the opportunities in the market. Focus on knowing what the winning strategies are. Focus on being really smart about the market and committing time to understand and know the market, to know the facts about the market. Focus on why your market is safe over the long term. Focus on the process that you have for your clients to help them to feel safe and to really be their guide and to make sure that they're never feeling rushed. Then also focus on what's new and exciting about your market. So we encourage you to put focus into these four areas. Be aware of what's happening in the external market, interest rates, stock market, et cetera, but go all in on where you can control and those things that you can control, and focus on these four things. My friends, what do we know? We know that the system works as long as you what? As long as you work the system. We appreciate you being here. We hope that you got some takeaways from today. We so appreciate you being part of the Ninja Nation, all the ideas, all the energy that you bring to us. And we so look forward to seeing you in the very near future. In the meantime, have an amazing day. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.